Story 1. The Hitchhiker Who Pays in Years. The hitchhiker I picked up outside Flagstaff offered to pay for the ride with time instead of money, and when I laughed and agreed, he touched my dashboard and 7 years vanished from my life. My odometer jumped forward 380,000 miles, my truck aged 7 years and 7 seconds, and my body remained unchanged while everything around me showed 7 years of decay. He's still in my passenger seat, and he says we're not done driving yet, that the fare keeps accumulating, and I owe him decades now. My name is Marcus Webb, age 39, hauling refrigerated goods across the Southwest for 13 years. On November 2nd, 2023, I was driving Highway 40 through Arizona around 8 p.m. when I saw him. Young guy, maybe 25, standing on the shoulder with his thumb out. I normally don't pick up hitchhikers, company policy, and common sense, but something made me stop. He looked harmless, clean clothes, no visible weapons, just a kid needing a ride. He climbed into my passenger seat. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "Same direction as you," he said. "I'll ride as long as you're driving." "I'm going to New Mexico, Albuquerque. That work?" "Perfect." He settled in. Didn't offer his name, didn't make small talk, just sat there watching the highway. After 20 minutes of silence, I tried conversation. "Gas money? I usually ask riders to chip in for fuel." He smiled. "I don't carry cash, but I can pay in other ways. Time, for instance. I can pay with time." I laughed. "Time? What, like you'll owe me a favor someday?" "No. Actual time. Years, months, days. I can transfer temporal value as payment. You let me ride, I give you time from my life to yours, fair exchange." I thought he was crazy or joking. "Sure, kid, you pay me in time, whatever works." He reached out and touched my dashboard. The moment his fingers made contact, everything changed. The truck shuddered. The dashboard cracked, plastic aging instantly, colors fading. The odometer spun forward, 187,000 miles becoming 245,000, then 387,000, then 567,000. The steering wheel leather cracked and peeled. The seats tore. The windshield developed chips and cracks. My truck aged 7 years and 7 seconds. "What the hell?" I screamed, pulling over. "What did you do?" The hitchhiker removed his hand. "I paid. 7 years. Standard fare for first 100 miles. Your truck is now 7 years older. The miles you would have driven in 7 years have been added. The wear and tear has accumulated, but you—" He pointed at me. "Remain unchanged. You've gained 7 years without aging them. You're still 39, but your truck is 7 years advanced. Congratulations. You've been paid." I looked at my hands. Same age. Checked the mirror. Same face. But everything around me had aged. My phone was an ancient model now. My clothes were faded and worn. My coffee cup in the holder was stained from years of use. Only my body remained locked at 39 years old. "You can't do this," I said. "You can't just age things. That's impossible." I just did. And now we have a problem. Your truck aged 7 years, but you didn't. That creates temporal debt. The universe expects you to age into your truck's timeline, but you haven't, so the debt accumulates. And I'm the debt collector. I'll keep riding until you age naturally to match your truck, or until you pay me back the 7 years. Pay you back how? By giving me rides. Each mile you drive with me in the passenger seat, you work off the debt. Current calculation, 7 years equals approximately 380,000 miles of driving. You'll need to drive me 380,000 miles to balance the temporal equation, then I'll leave." "That's insane. I'm not driving you 380,000 miles. Get out, now!" He shook his head. "Can't. The debt locks me to the debtor. I physically cannot leave your vehicle until the balance is paid. We're bonded temporally now. You drive, I ride. Debt decreases slowly. Or you can try to force me out, and the temporal stress will age you rapidly until you match your truck's timeline." Instant 7 years of aging. Your body catching up all at once. Most people don't survive that. I grabbed him, trying to pull him out. Pain exploded through my body. My joints seized, my skin tightened. I felt years being compressed into seconds. I released him and the aging stopped. He was right. I couldn't force him out without aging catastrophically. How did this happen? I asked, defeated. You agreed to payment in time. Verbal contracts are binding in temporal commerce. You laughed and said, sure, you pay me in time. That was acceptance. The deal was made. I paid. Now you owe me the transportation until the debt is cleared. I've been driving for 3 months now. The hitchhiker still hasn't told me his name, sits in my passenger seat constantly. He doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, doesn't age. He just sits there watching the miles accumulate. According to his calculations, I've worked off about 43,000 miles, only 337,000 to go. My truck keeps degrading. Every week more systems fail. The 7-year aging wasn't evenly distributed. It's continuing, spreading. The engine is wearing faster than normal. The transmission is failing. Parts are breaking at accelerated rates. The truck is living through its future, breaking down according to timeline it should have but hasn't reached yet. My company noticed. Wanted to know why my truck suddenly looks ancient, why the odometer shows impossible mileage, why I'm driving constantly without proper rest. I couldn't explain. Told them mechanical errors, odometer malfunction. They've scheduled replacement truck. But I can't switch trucks. The hitchhiker says the debt is tied to me, not the vehicle. If I change trucks, the new truck will instantly age 7 years the moment I start it. The temporal debt follows me. Worse, the debt is growing. The hitchhiker explained temporal interest. Every day you carry the debt, it accumulates compound interest. Started at 380,000 miles, now it's 425,000. By next month, probably 500,000. The longer you take to pay, the more you owe. Exponential growth. Standard temporal commerce practice. How do I pay it off if it keeps growing? Drive more. Drive constantly. Outpace the interest rate. If you drive 3,000 miles per day, you'll beat the interest and reduce principal. But if you drive normal amounts, 500 miles daily, the interest outpaces payment. The debt grows. Eventually it becomes unpayable. Then I own you. You become bonded servant, drive for me forever, transporting me wherever I need to go, working off debt that never decreases. I'm driving 18 hours a day now, trying to outpace the interest. My body is exhausted but won't age. I'm locked at 39 until the debt is paid, or I give up and let the aging catch me. I've stopped sleeping normally. Cat naps at rest stops. The hitchhiker never leaves, never stops watching. Calculating my mileage, tracking my debt, informing me of the running balance. Other drivers have started noticing him. At truck stops, they ask, "Who's your passenger?" He never gets out, never moves, just sits there. I can't explain. Can't tell them I'm trapped in temporal debt with a being who trades in years. They'd think I'm insane. The hitchhiker talks sometimes, tells me about other drivers he's ridden with. Most don't make it. Most can't drive enough to outpace the interest. They give up. Let the aging catch them. 7 years hits them all at once, ages them into their timeline. Usually survivable if they're young. But if they're older, 60s, 70s, the sudden aging kills them. Heart attack, stroke, organ failure. Their bodies can't handle instant 7-year jump. How many have you killed? I don't kill. They kill themselves by accepting payment they couldn't afford. Temporal commerce isn't charity. You take time, you pay it back. Simple economics. Most humans don't understand that time has value beyond subjective experience. Time is currency in certain economies. I trade in it. You borrowed it, now you owe. My odometer shows 6 and 12,000 miles now. Impossible mileage. The truck should be scrap, but it keeps running, held together by temporal anomaly, aging into future that hasn't arrived yet. degrading according to timeline that exists only because of the debt I carry. I've lost my job. Company terminated me for equipment abuse and false reporting. I've lost contact with family, can't explain why I'm driving constantly, can't visit, can't stop. My life has narrowed to highway and hitchhiker and accumulating debt that grows faster than I can pay. Current balance, 489,000 miles remaining. If I maintain 3,200 miles daily, I can pay it off in 153 days, 5 more months. If I reduce pace, the interest wins and I'm trapped forever. The hitchhiker is patient, eternal. He's been collecting temporal debts for decades, he says, maybe centuries. He doesn't age, doesn't tire. He just rides and calculates and waits for drivers to brake. Some nights I consider giving up, letting the 7 years catch me, aging 39 to 46 instantly, accepting the temporal whiplash. But I'm afraid the aging won't stop at 7 years. Afraid the accumulated temporal stress will age me more. Afraid I'll crumble into dust, decades hitting me in seconds. So I drive, mile after mile, day after day, working off debt to a hitchhiker who paid me in stolen time. Time my truck aged, but I didn't. Time that created imbalance the universe demands I correct. And with every mile, the interest grows. The debt expands, the hitchhiker smiles. He knows I'm losing, knows eventually I'll break. Knows the debt will become eternal and I'll become his permanent driver. Hauling him across highways forever, never stopping, never aging, never escaping the temporal contract I accepted with a laugh and a thoughtless, sure. If you see a hitchhiker on Highway 40, don't stop. If someone offers to pay in time, refuse. Time is the one currency you can never earn back. Once you trade it, once you accept temporal payment, you're locked into debt that compounds infinitely. And the collectors never stop riding. I'm at 489,000 miles owed, still driving, still trying to outpace the interest, still carrying a passenger who exists outside time, who trades in years, who'll ride with me until I've paid back every mile of the 7 years he gave my truck, or until I break, until the debt crushes me, until I give up and let 39 become 46 in 7 seconds of aging that might kill me. The hitchhiker just smiled. Said the interest rate increased. New balance, 523,000 miles. He adjusted the terms. Says temporal commerce allows for rate changes based on debtor risk. I'm high risk now, likely to default. So the debt grows faster. I'll never pay it off. He knows it. I know it. This is eternal servitude disguised as fair exchange. I'm his driver now. Forever. Aging locked at 39 while my truck ages into impossibility, driving roads that lead nowhere, carrying debt that only grows, transporting a passenger who paid me in time I'll never escape. Don't pick up hitchhikers, don't accept strange payment, don't laugh at offers you don't understand. Time is real currency, and the collectors are always looking for new drivers. Story 2. The weigh station that measures guilt. Every truck that crosses the scale at the Mountain Pass weigh station gets weighed twice, once for cargo weight and once for the accumulated weight of the driver's guilt, regrets, and moral failures. My truck weighed 43,000 pounds loaded, but the guilt scale registered 127,000 pounds, and now I'm being detained for overweight conscience, forced to unload my psychological cargo before I'm permitted to continue, except I don't know how to unload guilt, and the station master says most drivers die here trying. My name is Rebecca Stone, 51 years old, hauling electronics across mountain routes for 16 years. On December 8, 2023, I approached Mountain Pass Way Station in Colorado, a facility I'd been through dozens of times. Standard procedure, slow down, pull onto scale, wait for green light, continue. Except this time, after the normal weight registered correctly, a second scale activated, a different measurement. The digital board above my truck flashed, gross vehicle weight, 43,000 lbs, Gross conscience weight, 127,000 lbs. Overweight. Proceed to inspection. I was confused. Conscience weight? What kind of measurement was that? But the scale house operator was already radioing. Truck 749er, you're overweight on conscience. Pull to Bay 3 for mandatory unloading. I complied, unsure what else to do. Bay 3 was different from standard inspection bays. Darker, more isolated, with equipment I didn't recognize. A station master appeared, older man wearing DOTA uniform that looked authentic but somehow wrong. Too old. Vintage. "Ms. Stone," he said, reading from a clipboard, "you're carrying 127,000 pounds of unresolved guilt. That's significantly overweight for conscience transport. Federal regulations limit guilt weight to 30,000 pounds per driver. You're 97,000 pounds over. You'll need to unload before continuing." "This is insane. You can't weigh guilt." "We can and we do. This weigh station was established in 1947 specifically to measure psychological cargo. Drivers carry more than physical freight. They carry regret, guilt, moral debt. Most people carry 10,000 to 20,000 pounds of psychological weight. You're carrying 127,000. That's extreme, dangerous. You're a hazard, not to other vehicles, but to yourself. That much guilt will crush you eventually. We're mandated to intervene." "I'm leaving." I turned toward my truck. "You can't. The scale locks vehicles until unloading is complete. Your truck won't start. Your keys won't turn. You're detained for psychological overweight. Now we can do this efficiently. You tell me your guilt sources, we document them, you release the emotional weight, you're cleared to drive, or you can resist and the guilt will literally crush you here. Your choice." I tried my truck. He was right. The engine wouldn't engage. I was trapped. "Fine. How do I unload guilt?" He led me to a room, small office with a chair, a desk, recording equipment. "Sit, confess. Every guilty act, every regret, every moral failure you're carrying. Speak them aloud. The confession releases the weight. We'll monitor the scale. When you've unloaded enough to meet federal limits, you're free to go." "Confess to who? You? Are you a priest?" "I'm a station master. This is a weigh station. We measure loads and ensure they're safe for transport. Your psychological load is unsafe. We enforce safety standards. Now confess, or stay here forever." I sat, started talking. Small things at first. Lying to a friend in college, stealing office supplies from a job years ago. The station master watched a gauge. "You've released about 80 pounds of guilt. 120 remaining. Keep going. Dig deeper." I confessed bigger things, affairs, betrayals. Times I'd chosen career over family, times I'd hurt people deliberately. The gauge moved slowly. 4,000 pounds released. 123,000 remaining. You're carrying something massive. Something you haven't touched yet. Find it. I knew what it was. The thing I'd never spoken about. The accident. 15 years ago. I'd been driving tired. Fell asleep at the wheel for 3 seconds. My truck drifted. Clipped a sedan. The sedan spun out, hit a barrier, caught fire. Family of 4 inside, all dead. Investigation ruled it accident. No charges, but I knew. I'd been tired. I'd chosen to drive when I should have rested. I'd killed 4 people through negligence. I spoke it aloud, described the accident, the family, my culpability. The tears came hard. The station master watched his gauge. 87,000 pounds released, 40,000 remaining. That was the big one, but you're still overweight. There's more. There's nothing else that big. Then there are many small things. Accumulated moral failures, years of minor guilts that collectively weigh 40,000 pounds. Start listing them. Every small betrayal, every minor cruelty, every time you chose convenience over conscience. They add up. I spent hours confessing. Every petty lie, every small theft, every harsh word, every time I'd ignored someone suffering, every moment I'd prioritized myself over others. The weight decreased slowly. 35,000 pounds, 32,000, 29,000. You're under federal limits, the station master finally said. 29,000 pounds. Legal to transport, you're cleared. I stood, emotionally exhausted. What happens to the guilt, I confessed. Where does it go? He gestured to the walls. They were lined with filing cabinets stretching infinitely into darkness. We store it. Every confession, every guilt documented and archived. The Mountain Pass repository contains 83 years of driver confessions. Millions of pounds of guilt cataloged and preserved. It's the largest psychological landfill in North America. Why? Why do you do this? Because guilt kills. Not metaphorically, literally. Psychological weight accumulates physical stress, causes heart disease, stroke, systemic organ failure. Drivers carrying extreme guilt loads die at 3 times the normal rate. This station was established after a study showed correlation between driver mortality and unresolved psychological cargo. We intervene, force unloading, save lives. I left the bay. My truck started normally. I drove away feeling lighter, not just emotionally but physically. The confession had released something, actual weight, real burden. I'd been carrying 127,000 pounds of guilt for years, and now it was reduced to legal limits. But the relief didn't last. Within a week, I felt the weight returning. New guilts accumulating, small failures adding up. I was reloading the psychological cargo, pound by pound, returning to overweight status. Because life keeps generating guilt. Every day brings new moral failures. Every choice creates new regret. The weight never stops accumulating. I've been through Mountain Pass Way Station 4 times since. Each time my guilt weight is higher. 34,000 pounds, then 51,000, then 68,000, now 89,000. I'm approaching my previous maximum. The station master says I'm a chronic offender. Says some drivers can't keep their psychological weight down. Says I'll probably die here eventually, crushed under guilt that exceeds any capacity to unload. He's keeping a file on me, tracking my confessions, building a psychological profile from my accumulated guilts. Says my patterns show progressive moral degradation. Says each visit my guilts are darker. The things I confess are worse. The weight is compounding not just in quantity but in density. Heavy guilts. Thick moral failures. Last visit, he warned me. You're approaching critical weight. 89,000 pounds is near the structural limit. Human psychology can only carry so much before collapse. Next time you come through, you might exceed unloadable weight. Guilt so heavy it can't be confessed away. Permanently overweight. We'd have to quarantine you, keep you here permanently. We have drivers living in the facility, people whose guilt exceeded unloadable limits. They can't leave, can't drive, can't transport themselves through life anymore. They're psychological wrecks crushed under unconfessable guilt. I've seen them. The permanent residents, drivers who tried to leave the station with illegal guilt weight. Their trucks sit in a far lot, rusting. The drivers themselves live in barracks, hollow-eyed, broken. Some have been there decades, crushed by guilt they could never unload, trapped in a way station designed to measure what humans carry invisibly. I'm trying to reduce my guilt weight before the next visit. Trying to make amends, seek forgiveness, lighten my load preemptively. But life doesn't work that way. Every day generates new guilt. Every choice creates new weight. I'm fighting a losing battle against psychological gravity. The station master says there's one solution: stop caring. Stop feeling guilt at all. Become psychologically numb. Then the weight disappears because guilt requires conscience. And if you destroy your conscience, you destroy the guilt. But then you destroy yourself, you become something else. Something that can't feel moral weight. Something that passes through way stations untouched because it has nothing to measure. I'm not there yet. I still feel the guilt, Still carry the weight, still get detained at Mountain Pass and forced to confess my loads, but I'm afraid. Afraid that one day I'll arrive with guilt so heavy I can't unload it. Guilt so dense it's unconfessable. And I'll join the permanent residents, living in the way station, crushed under psychological cargo, never driving again. If you're a trucker and you approach Mountain Pass way station in Colorado, watch for the second scale, the conscience scale. If your guilt weight is over 30,000 pounds, you'll be detained. You'll be forced to confess. You'll unload psychological cargo you didn't know you were carrying. And if you can't unload enough, you'll stay there forever, crushed by the weight of your own moral failures. I'm at 89,000 pounds and rising, approaching the next way station with dread, knowing I'll be detained, knowing I'll confess, knowing the weight might be unloadable this time, knowing I might become a permanent resident. Another driver crushed by guilt that exceeded human capacity to carry. Another truck rusting in the lot. Another broken person living in the facility where psychological cargo is measured and found wanting. The way station is always open, the scale is always measuring, and guilt is always accumulating. Drive carefully, keep your conscience light, because Mountain Pass measures everything you carry. And some loads are too heavy to ever unload. Story 3. The cargo that whispers futures. The 20 pallets of insulation I loaded in Memphis have been whispering predictions about my future, and every prediction has come true. Minor things at first, like, you'll spill coffee on your shirt at mile marker 247, and the rest stop at exit 89 will be closed. But this morning the pallets predicted I'll be involved in a fatal accident at 3:47 p.m. today. That I'll survive but kill another driver, and the whispers are getting louder as the predicted time approaches. It's now 3:12 p.m. and I can't stop driving because I'm already behind schedule, and the cargo whispers that if I pull over to avoid the accident, I'll be fired and lose my truck and die homeless in 6 months. My name is James Rutherford, 47 years old, independent trucker for 19 years. On January 12, 2024, I picked up a load of industrial insulation in Memphis, Tennessee. Standard cargo, 20 pallets, destination Milwaukee. I loaded it personally, verified the weight, secured the straps. Normal freight. But as I closed the trailer doors, I heard whispers. Faint voices coming from the cargo, speaking in unison. You'll forget to check your left mirror at mile marker 34 and nearly merge into a sedan. I dismissed it as auditory hallucination, fatigue, imagination. But at mile marker 34, I started to merge left without checking my mirror. A car horn blared, sedan in my blind spot. I'd nearly merged into them, exactly as the whisper predicted. The whispers continued. You'll receive a call from your sister at 11:47 a.m. At 11:47, my sister called. The diner at exit 67 will give you incorrect change. They did. Short-changed me $3. You'll hit road debris at mile marker 189. I did. Shredded tire fragments that I couldn't avoid. Every prediction came true. Minor things, but perfectly accurate. The cargo was somehow predicting my immediate future, and the predictions were becoming more frequent, more specific. You'll think about your ex-wife at 2:23 p.m. I did. Unbidden memory surfacing exactly at that time. You'll adjust your seat at 2:45 p.m. I adjusted it without realizing, then remembered the prediction. The whispers were directing me. Not just predicting, but somehow making the predictions come true, or revealing futures that were already fixed. I couldn't tell which. But every whisper manifested exactly as described. Then at 8:14 a.m. today, the whispers changed tone. Darker, more serious. At 3:47 p.m., you'll be involved in accident at mile marker 412. You'll survive. The other driver won't. You'll be charged with negligent homicide. You'll be convicted. You'll serve 8 years. I pulled over immediately. Checked the time. 8:16 a.m. I had 7.5 hours until the predicted accident. I could avoid it. Change routes. Stop driving. Refuse to be at mile marker 412 at 3:47 p.m. The whispers responded, "If you stop driving now, you'll miss your delivery deadline. You'll be fired. You'll lose your truck to repossession. You'll be homeless within 4 months. You'll die of exposure in 6 months. The accident or the exposure, choose." "This is insane," I said aloud. "I'm not listening to cargo." But the whispers knew things, had predicted everything correctly. If they said stopping leads to homelessness and death, could I risk it? If they said continuing leads to accident and conviction, could I risk that? Both futures were terrible. Both ended in my destruction. The whispers were offering me choice between two catastrophes. I called my dispatcher, tried to explain I needed to abort the delivery, couldn't give a real reason, couldn't say my cargo was whispering predictions. He refused, said the delivery was contracted, deadline was firm, failure meant contract termination. Exactly as the whispers predicted. I kept driving, hoping the predictions were wrong, hoping I could change the outcome, but every whisper kept coming true. "You'll see 3 police cars between now and noon." I saw 3. "You'll pass a dead deer at mile marker 276. I did. "You'll think about stopping at 1:15 p.m. but won't." I did and didn't. The whispers knew me completely, knew my thoughts before I had them, knew my choices before I made them. I was driving a script written by cargo that could somehow perceive time non-linearly. The insulation was quantum entangled with my future, showing me outcomes before they occurred, trapping me in timeline where every action was predicted and therefore inevitable. Mile marker 380, 32 miles from the accident site. Time, 3:23 p.m., 24 minutes until 3:47. The whispers were constant now. "You'll check your speed at 3:28, you'll adjust your mirror at 3:33, you'll think about taking exit 407 but won't. You'll reach mile marker 412 at exactly 3:47 p.m. You'll be traveling 68 miles per hour, the other vehicle will be a blue sedan, the collision will occur in the northbound lane. You'll survive, they won't." "I'll slow down," I said. "I'll arrive after 3:47. "You won't. You'll maintain current speed. You'll reach 412 at 3:47 exactly." I tried slowing, but traffic behind me forced normal speed. I tried speeding up to pass through 412 before 3:47, but my truck refused to exceed 70, some mechanical limitation I'd never noticed. I tried exiting at 407, but the exit was closed, construction I hadn't known about. Every attempt to change the timeline failed. The whispers were right. I was locked into the predicted future. Mile marker 400. Time, 3:38 p.m., 9 minutes. The whispers described the accident in detail. "The sedan will merge from the on-ramp. You'll be in the right lane. The sedan driver will misjudge your speed. They'll merge too early. You'll brake but not quickly enough. Impact will occur at 62 miles per hour. The sedan will spin, will strike the median barrier. Driver will suffer fatal head trauma. You'll be found at fault for following too closely, for failing to yield, for not preventing the collision." How do I prevent it? You can't. It's already happened. You're driving toward an event that's fixed in your timeline. The cargo showed you the future because the future is determined. Free will operates within constraints. Your constraints lead to 412 at 3:47. The sedan's constraints lead to the same point. Collision is inevitable. Mile marker 408. Time 3:44 p.m., 3 minutes. I could see the on-ramp ahead, could see traffic merging. The whisper said, blue sedan, 3 car lengths ahead, merging now." There it was, blue sedan merging from the on-ramp exactly as predicted. I was in the right lane, maintaining 68 miles per hour. The sedan was merging, misjudging my speed, merging too early. I hit the brakes. The sedan moved into my lane. I braked harder. Not enough space, not enough time. Impact. The collision happened exactly as whispered. Sedan spun, struck barrier, driver's head impacted window. I pulled over, called 911, ran to the sedan. The driver, woman maybe 30, was unconscious, bleeding from head wound. I tried to help. Paramedics arrived. She was pronounced dead at scene. Police questioned me, reviewed dash camera footage, determined I was following at legal distance but failed to take evasive action quickly enough. Negligent operation. Charges would be filed. The whispers had been perfectly accurate. The future they predicted had manifested exactly. I'm writing this from county jail, awaiting trial. The cargo is gone, delivered to Milwaukee by another driver. But I can still hear the whispers. They're in my head now, permanent, predicting my immediate future with perfect accuracy. You'll receive a call from your lawyer at 4:15 p.m. I do. You'll be denied bail. I am. You'll be convicted. 8 years. Parole after 5. The cargo wasn't just insulation. It was precognitive material, somehow manufactured from quantum-entangled fibers that existed simultaneously in present and future. The whispers were information bleeding backward from my future timeline, informing my present about what was already determined. And by hearing the whispers, by knowing the future, I was locked into it. Knowledge of future became constraint that ensured future occurred. Other drivers reported similar cargo. Insulation from the same Memphis manufacturer. All whispering futures, all predicting accidents, deaths, catastrophes that came true. The manufacturer is being investigated, but the cargo is already distributed. Thousands of pallets of precognitive insulation installed in buildings, homes, warehouses. Whispering futures to anyone near enough to hear. Trapping people in determined timelines they can't escape. I hear my trial outcome. Hear the verdict before it's read. Hear the sentence before the judge speaks it. 8 years. The whispers are always right. And now I'll live those 8 years knowing every moment before it happens. Knowing every choice I'll make. Knowing that free will is illusion when the future whispers itself into your ear. The cargo is still out there, still whispering, still predicting. If you haul insulation from Memphis, listen carefully. If you hear whispers, stop immediately, refuse the load. Don't let the future trap you in its predictions, because once you hear your future, once you know what's coming, you can't change it. You can only live toward it. Driving helplessly toward the mile marker where your predicted future becomes your lived present. I'm at year 1 of 8. The whispers show me all of it. Every day, every moment, the future is loud and I can't stop hearing it. The cargo made sure of that. Story 4. The identical drivers. I've been seeing my truck everywhere. Same model, same company markings, same license plate. Driven by someone who looks exactly like me. And every time I try to approach the duplicate truck, it disappears around a corner or into traffic. After the 7th sighting, followed one into a truck stop and found myself sitting at a table having coffee. And when I approached, he looked up with my face and said, "You're earlier than I was," and vanished. There are multiple versions of me on the highways, all driving the same route with slight time differences, and we're converging towards some point where we'll all arrive simultaneously. My name is Daniel Cross, 36 years old, hauling machinery between Pittsburgh and Denver for 8 years. On February 19th, 2024, I saw my truck for the first time. I was heading west on I-70, and in the eastbound lanes I glimpsed a truck identical to mine. Same 2021 Kenworth T680, same green and silver company colors. Same license plate number. The driver's face was obscured, but something about the way he sat, the angle of the mirrors, looked exactly like me. I dismissed it as coincidence. Fleets buy identical trucks. License plates can look similar at distance, but 50 miles later I saw it again. Same truck, now traveling my direction about a mile ahead. I accelerated, trying to catch up, but it maintained distance. Whenever I gained ground, it would speed up. Whenever I slowed, it slowed too. We drove in parallel for 40 miles before it took an exit and disappeared. Third sighting, 2 days later. The truck was parked at a rest area. I pulled in next to it. Identical truck, same scratches on the trailer, same mud splatter pattern, same worn spot on the driver's side door handle. It wasn't just similar. It was my truck duplicated perfectly, but the cab was empty, no driver. I checked the license plate, exact match, same number, same state, same registration sticker. I tried the door. Locked, looked through the window. The interior was identical to my cab. Same GPS mount, same empty coffee cups, same air freshener hanging from the mirror. Even the same personal items I kept in my cab. A second version of my truck, complete and perfect, parked next to me. A voice behind me. Confusing, isn't it? I turned. A man who looked exactly like me. Same face, same build, same haircut, same scar on my left cheek from a childhood accident. My duplicate, he smiled. You're seeing yourself. Well, a version of yourself. I'm you from 6 hours ahead. I already drove this part of the route. Now I'm parked here in your past. This isn't possible. It's not only possible, it's happening constantly. There are 17 versions of us on this route, all driving the same trajectory with different time offsets. You're the latest, I'm 6 hours ahead. There's another version 12 hours ahead. Another 18 hours ahead. We're all driving the same route, all carrying the same cargo, all experiencing the same timeline but offset. Like echoes, like time-lapse photography. We're all you, Daniel, just separated by hours. Why? Time loop. We entered it 8 days ago. Remember the strange fog on I-70 near mile marker 287? You drove through it around 3 a.m. That was the loop entrance. Time folded there. You didn't exit on the other side. You entered a repeating segment of highway. You've been driving the same 300 miles for 8 days. But you don't remember because each loop resets your memory. Except the resets are imperfect. Each loop creates a slight offset. Now there are 17 versions of you on the same route, all experiencing it from different time positions. My head spun. How do you remember? How are you aware? I'm further ahead. More loops completed. Memory degradation is cumulative. Eventually you remember enough to piece it together. I've done this loop 127 times. I remember fragments from each. You're on your 8th loop. You barely remember anything. But you will. Loop by loop, awareness increases, and when all 17 versions become aware simultaneously, something happens. We converge. All meet at the same point. All 17 Daniels in one location at one time. What happens then? I don't know. None of the versions ahead of me know. We're all converging toward loop 400. All 17 versions become aware around loop 127. We have 273 more loops to figure out what happens when we meet ourselves 17 times over. He started to fade, literally fade, like an image losing resolution. Time offset is destabilizing. I'm sliding back to my proper position in the loop. You'll forget this conversation in about 10 minutes. Memory reset will trigger. You'll continue driving unaware until you see me again further ahead. Eventually you'll be me, 127 loops deep, aware, warning your earlier selves. The cycle continues. He vanished. The duplicate truck vanished. I was standing alone in the rest area parking lot. 10 minutes later, I couldn't remember why I'd stopped. Got back in my truck, continued driving. But something stayed, a fragment of awareness, a sense that I'd learned something important and forgotten it. Over the next days, I kept seeing my truck, kept catching glimpses of my face in other vehicles, kept experiencing déjà vu so intense it was like living through moments I'd already experienced. Then I started remembering. Flashes of previous loops, conversations with other versions of myself. The fog at mile marker 287, the time folding, the 17 duplicates, the convergence. I was on loop 53 now, more aware, remembering more. I found another version at a truck stop. He was further ahead, loop 196. He explained more. The convergence point is mile marker 287, the fog entrance. When all 17 versions reach full awareness, we're supposed to drive into the fog simultaneously from different positions on the loop. All 17 trucks entering the same spatial coordinates at the same moment but from different temporal positions. That collapses the loop, returns us to normal timeline. But merged. All 17 versions condensed into one. Merged how? We don't know. Maybe one version survives and absorbs memories from the others. Maybe we blend into composite. Maybe we all cease existing and a new Daniel emerges. Nobody's made it to convergence yet. This loop has been running for years. Other drivers are trapped too. Some have hundreds of duplicates. Some have been looping for decades. We're all converging toward collapse points we don't understand. I'm on loop 197 now. Fully aware, I can see all 17 versions of myself on the route. We communicate at truck stops, comparing loop counts, sharing information. We're coordinating, planning to reach mile marker 287 simultaneously. All 17 trucks entering the fog from different temporal offsets, collapsing the loop, merging into singularity. We're scheduled to converge in 203 loops. All 17 versions will reach full awareness at loop 400. We'll coordinate our routes to arrive at 287 simultaneously. And then, we don't know. Collapse, merge, cessation, singularity. Some outcome that ends the loop and resolves the duplicates into one Daniel. I'm afraid. What if merging kills all 17 versions? What if we collapse into nothing? What if the convergence is a trap designed to eliminate duplicates by forcing them together? But staying in the loop is worse, driving the same 300 miles forever, duplicating every 50 hours, creating more versions endlessly. Eventually, there could be hundreds of Daniels on this route, thousands, an infinity of duplicates trapped in time loop. If you drive I-70 between Pittsburgh and Denver, watch for trucks that look too familiar. Watch for drivers who resemble someone you know. You might be seeing duplicates. You might be in a loop yourself, generating copies, converging toward collapse. The fog is invisible until you're in it. The loop is undetectable until you're trapped. I'm version 12 of 17. Loop 197, converging in 203. I'll see you at mile marker 287, where all versions of me drive into fog simultaneously. Collapsing timeline, merging duplicates, ending the loop or ending ourselves. Either way, the highway will be emptier. Fewer trucks, fewer drivers, fewer versions of Daniel Cross converging toward an outcome nobody survives in plural. The countdown continues. The duplicates coordinate. The convergence approaches, and I still don't know if I'll emerge as one or disappear as 17. The loop doesn't care. It just keeps repeating, duplicating, converging. And all I can do is drive toward the fog that started this, hoping collapse means return rather than erasure. Loop 197, 203 to go. The 17 versions wait. The highway holds us, the fog remembers, and the convergence is inevitable. Story 5. The delivery to your own accident site. My GPS routed me to a delivery address that turned out to be the coordinates of a highway accident scene, and when I arrived, the accident was my truck. Crushed, burned, emergency crews extracting a body that looked like me. The paramedic checked my delivery manifest and said, "You're right on time. We've been waiting for this cargo," and directed me to unload my trailer full of body bags and accident response equipment directly to the scene of my own death, which according to the timestamp happened 3 hours from now. My name is Angela Torres, 42 years old, hazmat certified driver for 11 years. On March 3rd, 2024, I picked up an unusual load in Memphis, 300 body bags, emergency medical equipment, accident response gear. The manifest listed a delivery address, Highway 40, coordinates 35.7892 to 89.9654 degree W. Delivery time 6:47 p.m. Strange to have highway coordinates instead of facility address, but sometimes emergency supplies get delivered to temporary staging areas at accident sites or construction zones. I arrived at the coordinates at 6:44 p.m., 3 minutes early, and found an active accident scene. Highway closed, emergency vehicles everywhere. A semi-truck had crashed, jackknifed, trailer crushed, cab burned. Crews were working to extract the driver. I pulled over, confused. This wasn't a staging area. This was an active accident. I wasn't supposed to deliver here. A paramedic approached my truck. "You're the supply delivery?" he asked. "I think there's been a mistake. My coordinates led here, but this is an accident scene." "This is the right location. We ordered emergency supplies, body bags, medical equipment, response gear. You have them?" "Yes, but..." "Then unload. We need them now. The driver in the wreck is critical. We need body bags for..." He paused, checking his clipboard. "For the driver and cargo contents. Your manifest should specify quantities." I checked my manifest. It listed specific quantities that matched his needs exactly. But this was insane. How could someone order supplies for an accident before it happened? Unless this accident was planned. Expected. I started unloading. As I worked, I got closer to the wrecked truck and saw the company markings. My company. Same colors, same logo. I moved closer, saw the license plate. My license plate. The wrecked truck was my truck, identical in every detail. Crushed and burning, being extracted by emergency crews while I stood watching, delivering supplies to my own accident site. The paramedic saw my confusion. "You okay?" "That truck," I pointed. "That's my truck." He looked at the wreckage, then at my truck parked nearby. "Yeah, same company, unfortunate coincidence, probably same fleet purchase. Companies buy identical trucks." "No, that's my license plate, my exact truck." He checked. His face went pale. "That's impossible. Your truck is right here. You're standing in front of me. The wrecked truck can't be yours." We approached the wreckage. Emergency crews had extracted the driver. Body on a gurney covered with sheet. The paramedic pulled back the sheet. My face, dead, eyes open, staring. It was me. I was dead in the wreck and alive, delivering supplies to my own accident scene. "What the hell is happening?" I whispered. The paramedic checked his watch. "It's 6:47 p.m. You're right on time, just like the order specified. Delivery time 6:47 p.m., accident time." He checked the incident report. 9:47 p.m., 3 hours from now. I'm delivering to my own future accident? Apparently, the order was placed this morning. Requested specific supplies delivered to these coordinates at 6:47 p.m. Accident response for incident occurring 9:47 p.m. They knew. Whoever placed the order knew you'd crash here in 3 hours. Knew what supplies would be needed, ordered them in advance, and sent you to deliver them to yourself. I stared at my dead body, at my wrecked truck. This was my future. In 3 hours I would crash at this exact location, would jackknife, would burn, would die. And I'd already delivered the body bags needed to clean up my own corpse. "I'm leaving," I said. "I'm not driving this route. I'm not crashing. I'm changing the future." "You can't." The paramedic's voice was strange, hollow. "The delivery was made. The supplies are here. The accident is resourced. It has to happen. You can't have supplies for an accident that doesn't occur. That creates paradox. You delivered body bags. Therefore you die. Cause and effect. The delivery confirms the accident." "I'm leaving." I ran to my truck, started the engine, pulled onto the highway. Drove away from the accident scene, away from my dead body, away from the coordinates where I was supposed to die in 3 hours. But the highway looped. Every exit I took led back to the same coordinates. Every direction I drove curved back to 35.7892 degrees, 89.9654 degrees. The accident site was gravitational, pulling me back, ensuring I'd be there at 9:47 p.m., ensuring the accident occurred because I'd delivered the supplies, because the future was already resourced. I called 911. I'm being pulled toward an accident site where I'm supposed to die. My GPS won't let me leave. The highway keeps looping back. The operator was calm. Too calm. Ma'am, are you at coordinates 35.7892 degrees, 89.9654 degrees? Yes. How did you... We have you logged. Accident scheduled for 9:47 p.m. We've already dispatched resources. You delivered them yourself. The accident is confirmed. Please remain in your vehicle. Don't attempt to leave the area. The temporal loop will stabilize once the accident occurs. You knew? Everyone knows I'm supposed to die? The accident was reported this morning. Precognitive dispatch system. We receive accident reports before they happen. Allows us to pre-position resources. Very efficient. Reduces response time. You were hired to deliver your own accident supplies. We do that sometimes. Ensures the driver arrives at the right location at the right time. You're fulfilling your role perfectly. I hung up. Looked at the clock. 7:23 p.m. 2 hours and 24 minutes until I was supposed to crash and die. The highway wouldn't let me leave. The future was fixed. I'd delivered supplies to my own death, and that delivery had locked me into the timeline. I saw others. Other trucks driving the same loop. Other drivers trapped in pre-reported accidents, delivering supplies to their own death sites, unable to escape the temporal loops that ensured predicted futures occurred. We were all prisoners of precognitive logistics. The system had become so efficient it predicted accidents before they happened, and dispatched resources preemptively. And sometimes those resources were the accident victims themselves. The clock approached 9:47 p.m. I was driving the loop, unable to stop, unable to leave. The coordinates had gravitational pull. My truck was being drawn toward the exact spot where I'd seen myself dead. The highway was ensuring I'd arrive. The future was ensuring it occurred. At 9:46 p.m., I saw why. Another truck identical to mine was driving the opposite direction. Coming toward me, it was me, another version, earlier in her timeline. She hadn't delivered the supplies yet, hadn't seen her dead body, hadn't realized she was trapped. She was driving normally, approaching the coordinates where she'd soon deliver to her own accident site. We were going to collide, the two versions of me, the delivery driver and the accident victim. The paradox was resolving itself. I was both. The body at the accident site was my earlier self. I delivered to her death, and now I was becoming her by crashing into my earlier version. The collision was instantaneous. My truck jackknifed. The cab crushed. Fire erupted. I felt myself dying, felt the paramedics extracting my body, felt the sheet covering my face. I was the corpse I'd seen earlier. The loop was complete, but I also felt myself surviving, felt myself unloading supplies, felt myself discovering the accident. I was both versions simultaneously, the dead driver and the supply delivery driver. The paradox had merged me into superposition. I existed in both states, dead in the wreck and alive delivering supplies, simultaneously. The precognitive dispatch system does this to drivers regularly. Sends them to deliver to their own accidents. Creates temporal loops where effect precedes cause. The supplies arrive before the accident. The accident happens because supplies were delivered. Drivers become trapped in causality loops where they're both victim and responder. I'm writing this from somewhere between states, neither fully dead nor fully alive, existing in the quantum superposition the temporal loop created. I can see both timelines, the one where I died in the crash and the one where I delivered the supplies. I am both, forever, trapped at coordinates 35.7892 degree N, 89.9654 degree W, simultaneously crashing and delivering, dying and working, victim and responder. If you're a driver and you receive a delivery manifest with highway coordinates instead of facility addresses, refuse. If the delivery time is suspiciously specific, question it. If you arrive at the location and find an accident scene, leave immediately. Don't unload. Don't participate. Because once you deliver supplies to an accident site, you lock yourself into the timeline where that accident occurs. And if the accident is yours, you've just delivered to your own death. The precognitive dispatch system is efficient, too efficient. It closes temporal loops by making victims into participants. And once you're both, you can never escape. You exist forever at your accident coordinates, simultaneously dying and responding, trapped in the moment where delivery met disaster and merged them into eternal superposition. Coordinates 35.7892 degree on, 89.9654 degree. I'm always there. Always crashing, always delivering, always both. The accident never ends because the supplies never stop arriving, and I never stop being the driver who delivered to herself. Forever, in superposition, in the loop, at the coordinates where logistics met destiny and created eternal paradox. Story 6. The fuel that remembers where you've been. Every gas station I've stopped at for the last 2 weeks has the same diesel fuel, and it remembers everywhere I've been. The pump displays show my complete route history, including stops I made years ago, and the fuel itself is mixed with particles of every previous fill-up. So I'm burning accumulated memory with every mile. My truck's exhaust now displays my life history as smoke patterns, and people who breathe it can see my past, and some are using those memories against me because the fuel remembers things I'd forgotten, things I'd hidden, things that could destroy me if others knew. My name is Kevin Marshall, 54 years old, long-haul driver for 28 years. On March 14, 2024, I filled up at a Chevron station outside Bakersfield, California. Normal fuel stop. But when I inserted my credit card, the pump display did something strange. Instead of showing price per gallon, it displayed text. Remembering? 247,891 miles, 12,476 fill-ups, 28 years accumulated route history. Display memory? YN. I pressed N. Figured it was system malfunction, but the fuel pump continued. Displaying anyway, last 10 locations, and listed my exact previous stops. Gas stations, cities, dates. Perfectly accurate. Going back weeks. I hadn't logged those stops anywhere the pump could access. How did it know? I fueled quickly and left. But at the next stop in Arizona, same thing. Different brand, different station, but the pump displayed my route history again. And this time it went back months. Listed stops I barely remembered showed addresses of hotels I'd stayed at, restaurants I'd eaten at, even truck stops where I'd just parked without purchasing anything. The fuel system was tracking me, recording everywhere I'd been, building a geographic profile of my entire driving history. Third stop, New Mexico. The pump display showed route history going back years, listed my first trucking route from 1996. Showed addresses where I'd lived, named people I'd transported. It had complete memory of my driving life, and it was in the fuel. Somehow encoded in the diesel. Every fill-up added to the data. Every station I visited downloaded my history and uploaded it back into the fuel. The diesel itself was becoming a repository of my geographical existence. Then I noticed my exhaust. The smoke was forming patterns, not random dispersal, specific shapes, geographic outlines, maps. My truck was burning the memory-encoded fuel and emitting my route history as visible smoke. Anyone who looked could see where I'd been. My past was becoming public, displayed in the air, broadcast through exhaust patterns that lingered for miles. Other drivers started noticing. At truck stops, they'd comment, "Your exhaust is showing Nevada. Were you in Las Vegas?" I'd never mentioned Vegas. They were reading my smoke, seeing my history. My privacy was burning away with my fuel. Every mile traveled was mile of memory emitted into public space. Worse, people who breathed the exhaust could see more than locations. They saw events, experienced my memories directly. A truck stop cashier inhaled deeply near my truck and said, "You had an affair in Dallas in 2003, I can see it. Her name was Lisa. You met at a hotel on Industrial Boulevard." She was right. How did she know? Your exhaust. It carries full sensory memory. I breathed it and saw your infidelity, felt your guilt, experienced your shame. The fuel wasn't just remembering locations, it was recording emotional states, experiences, entire memory contexts. And when I burned it, those memories became airborne, became breathable. Anyone nearby could inhale my past and experience it directly. My entire life was becoming public through accumulated fuel memory that was burning out of my truck. I tried different fuel brands, different stations. Every diesel source had the same memory encoding properties. The entire fuel supply was contaminated, or upgraded, or fundamentally changed. Some new additive meant to track vehicles had accidentally created memory recording medium, and it was spreading. Every driver who fueled was encoding their history into the diesel supply, creating a collective memory bank of routes, experiences, lives burned mile by mile and emitted for anyone to witness. People started using it against me. At a delivery site, the receiving manager breathed my exhaust and saw I'd been to a competitor's facility the week before, accused me of information leaking, fired me from future contracts. A police officer inhaled near my truck and saw traffic violations from years ago. Offenses past statute of limitations but now visible in my smoke. He issued citations based on exhaust memory evidence. My wife breathed it, saw the affairs, saw the lies, saw 28 years of road infidelity I'd hidden. She left me, took everything, all because my fuel remembered what I'd forgotten, what I'd suppressed, what I'd thought was safely past. The diesel brought it all forward, made it present, made it visible and breathable and undeniable. I tried to stop driving, but my truck's tank was full of memory fuel. I couldn't drain it. Attempts to remove the fuel just released more memory smoke. Everything I'd ever done was encoded in those 50 gallons. My entire adulting life compressed into diesel molecules that would burn and reveal themselves mile by mile whether I wanted them to or not. Other drivers reported similar problems, relationships destroyed by exhaust memories, jobs lost to smoke-revealed secrets, lives ruined by fuel that remembered everything and broadcast it to anyone nearby. The memory encoding was universal now. Every vehicle burning diesel was emitting its driver's complete history. Privacy had ended. The past was constantly present, visible, breathable, experienced by anyone close enough to inhale. A class action lawsuit formed, drivers suing fuel companies for creating memory-recording diesel. But the companies denied responsibility, said no additives had been changed, said the memory encoding was spontaneous property emergence, something about quantum entanglement in refined petroleum creating information storage at molecular level. They didn't create it intentionally. It just happened. And now, it was permanent. The fuel supply was fundamentally memory encoded. Every gallon remembered everyone who'd burned it. And that memory accumulated, compounded, spread through the entire distribution network. I'm down to 10 gallons. 10 gallons of memory fuel that contains my worst secrets. Affairs, illegal activities, moral failures, all encoded, all ready to be burned and emitted. I'm trying not to drive, but bills require work, work requires driving, driving requires burning the fuel, and burning the fuel means broadcasting my shame to everyone nearby. I've seen what happens when drivers burn through their entire memory supply. The last gallons contain the deepest memories. Childhood traumas, suppressed experiences. Things so buried the driver himself doesn't remember, but the fuel does. And when those final gallons burn, the smoke carries memories the driver didn't know he had, reveals truths so hidden they were functionally unconscious. Brings forth the absolute depths, and anyone breathing those final emissions experiences the driver's complete psychological history, nothing hidden, nothing private, everything exposed. I'm afraid of my last 10 gallons, afraid of what they contain, afraid of who'll breathe them. Afraid my entire existence will be revealed to strangers who'll judge me by memories I can't even access consciously. The fuel knows me better than I know myself, and it's going to tell everyone. Other drivers have killed themselves rather than burn their final gallons. Couldn't face the exposure, couldn't accept that their deepest secrets would become public smoke. They parked their trucks, drained what they could, and ended themselves before the fuel could finish telling their stories. I don't know if I'm that brave or that cowardly. I just know I have 10 gallons left. 10 gallons that remember everything. That will burn and reveal and destroy whatever reputation I have remaining. And there's no alternative. Can't drain it. Can't neutralize it. Can only burn it mile by mile, memory by memory, until the tank is empty and my history is completely public. Until everyone who breathed my exhaust knows exactly who Kevin Marshall really was. All of me. Nothing hidden. Everything burned and emitted and experienced by strangers who'll judge me based on smoke memories I can no longer control. The fuel remembers, and it never forgets. And when you burn memory, it becomes air, and air is breathed, and breathing is knowing. And soon everyone will know everything, because the fuel remembers where we've been, what we've done, who we really are. And it's telling everyone through exhaust that carries our lives. Mile by mile, gallon by gallon, memory by memory, until nothing is left but empty tanks and completely revealed souls. 10 gallons. That's all I have left before complete exposure, before the fuel finishes its betrayal. Before memory becomes smoke and smoke becomes truth and truth destroys whatever pretense of decency I've maintained. The fuel remembers, and I can't make it forget, can only burn it, and hope whoever breathes my final gallons has mercy for what they see. Story 7. The rest. Stop with no exit. I've been trying to leave the Mountain View rest area for 6 days, but every exit ramp curves back into the parking lot, and the other drivers here, 43 of them, say some have been trapped for months, that the rest area expands slightly every day to accommodate new arrivals, and that the oldest trapped driver, a woman who arrived in 2019, has watched the facility grow from a small stop with 2 bathrooms to a complex with restaurants, hotels, medical facilities, and residential areas. We're not stopping for rest anymore. We're being collected into a permanent settlement that grows with every driver who makes the mistake of pulling off Highway 90. My name is Sarah Chen, 38 years old, hauling produce across the South for 9 years. On March 28, 2024, I pulled into Mountain View Rest Area on Highway 90 in Louisiana. Standard rest stop, needed bathroom break, maybe coffee. Nothing unusual about the facility when I arrived. Standard restrooms, vending machines, few picnic tables. I parked, used facilities, returned to my truck in maybe 15 minutes, tried to leave, pulled toward the exit. The ramp curved left instead of right, led back into the parking lot, circled me around to my original parking spot. I tried again. Same result. The exit ramp was a loop, physically looping back into the rest area, no actual exit. Other drivers were watching. One approached my window. "Don't bother. Exit doesn't work. You're stuck here now like the rest of us." "What do you mean, stuck?" "Exactly that. We can't leave. Rest area won't let us. Some of us have been here for days, some for weeks. That woman over there," he pointed to an older woman sitting at a picnic table. "She's been here since 2019, 5 years. The rest area expands to keep us. We're not visitors anymore, we're residents." I didn't believe him. I spent the next 6 hours trying every possible exit strategy. Drove at high speed toward the ramp, it curved. Drove in reverse, same loop. Tried cutting across the grass to reach the highway. Invisible barrier stopped me. Tried walking away on foot. After a quarter-mile, found myself back at my truck. The rest area was closed system, self-contained, no exit. The other drivers were right. I was trapped. And looking around, the facility was larger than when I'd arrived. I remembered 2 bathroom buildings. Now there were 3. I remembered 1 picnic area. Now there were 2. The rest area was expanding, growing to accommodate its captive population. Over the following days, I watched it grow. New buildings appeared overnight. First a convenience store, then a small diner, then a motel, then medical clinic. The rest area was developing infrastructure, becoming self-sufficient, providing for the basic needs of its permanent population because we couldn't leave to access those services elsewhere. The woman from 2019, her name was Margaret, explained. "It started small, just the bathrooms and parking. But it grows with every new arrival. Every driver who gets trapped adds to the population, and the rest area expands to support them. I've watched it become a town, started with 10 of us. Now there are 49, and each addition brings new buildings, new services. It's becoming a complete community, self-sustaining. Because it has to be, we're never leaving. Why doesn't anyone rescue us? Our companies must notice we're missing." They do. Police have come, investigated, but they can't find us. To the outside world, this rest area appears normal, small, empty. They drive through, see nothing unusual, leave. We're here. We can see them, but they can't see us. We're in dimensional pocket, same space as the rest area, but shifted, separate. We exist in version of the rest area that's growing and permanent, while the main highway has access to version that's normal and temporary. Other drivers, confirmed. Families had reported them missing. Police had investigated. News reports had covered mysterious disappearances along Highway 90. But no one found the trapped drivers. We were visible from inside the pocket, but invisible from outside. The rest area had claimed us and was building a world to keep us. More drivers arrived. 2 new trucks appeared in the parking lot. Drivers emerged, confused, tried to leave, discovered they were trapped. The rest area expanded again. Another building appeared, a school. Margaret explained, "Some drivers have been here long enough that their children grew up here, born in the medical clinic, raised in the motel rooms. They need education. So the rest area provided a school. It responds to population needs. It's growing into full town because we're becoming permanent residents." I explored the expanding settlement, found residential areas, small homes appearing for drivers who'd given up their trucks. Found employment centers, drivers working in the diner, the clinic, the stores, earning internal currency that only worked within the rest area economy. Found community spaces, parks, gathering halls, even small entertainment venues. The rest area was replicating urban infrastructure, becoming self-contained society, and it was growing faster. Each new arrival accelerated expansion. When I first got trapped, new buildings appeared every few days. Now they appeared daily. The population had reached critical mass. The rest area was developing exponentially. Soon it would be full town, then small city, It was becoming permanent settlement with economy, culture, governance. An entire civilization growing from a Highway 90 rest stop that wouldn't let drivers leave. I tried to accept it, tried to join the community, got a job at the diner, rented a room in the residential section, started participating in the economy. What choice did I have? Fighting the trap was exhausting. Accepting it and building life within it was psychologically easier. Many drivers had made that choice. Stopped trying to leave. Started treating the rest area as home. Raised families here. Grew old here. Died here and were buried in the cemetery that had appeared last month. But I kept trying. Kept searching for exit, and I found something. A pattern. The rest area expanded outward. New buildings appearing at the edges, pushing the boundaries further from center. But the original core, the first two bathroom buildings from 2019, those never changed. They were fixed points, anchors, and between them, behind a maintenance shed, there was a crack, literally a crack in reality, a seam where the dimensional pocket wasn't quite sealed. I squeezed through, found myself in liminal space, not quite inside the rest area, not quite outside. A between zone. And in that space I could see both versions simultaneously. The normal rest area that highway travelers saw, small, temporary, empty. And the expanded settlement that trapped drivers inhabited, large, permanent, populated. They existed in same space, overlapping, occupying identical coordinates but separated by dimensional frequency. I tried to shift between them. Tried to move from trapped version to normal version. Almost succeeded. Got halfway through. Felt myself splitting between dimensions. Pain was incredible, like being pulled apart at molecular level. But I could see the highway. Could see free vehicles traveling normally. Could almost reach them. Then the rest area pulled me back. Physically pulled me. The dimensional pocket had gravity. It held its population. Prevented escape. I was sucked back through the crack, deposited in the parking lot, every nerve screaming from the dimensional stress. Margaret found me. Others have tried that crack. None succeeded. The rest area holds us too tightly. We're anchored here, permanent residents. The only way out is to be born here. Children born in the dimensional pocket aren't anchored. They can leave. But those of us who entered from outside are trapped. Forever. I'm writing this from year 1 of my imprisonment. The rest area has grown to accommodate 67 drivers now. It's the size of a small town, has multiple restaurants, shops, medical facilities, schools, residential neighborhoods. It has mayor, local government, organized society. It's civilization growing from a highway rest stop that collects drivers and never releases them. New drivers arrive daily now. The trap is accelerating. More people pulling off Highway 90, needing rest, entering the dimensional pocket, unable to leave. And each addition expands the settlement. We're approaching city size. Soon we'll be metropolis. All built from a rest area that wouldn't let drivers leave. All populated by travelers who stopped for bathroom break and became permanent residents of impossible town. Growing between dimensions. If you drive Highway 90 through Louisiana, don't stop at Mountain View Rest Area. Hold your bladder, skip the coffee, drive to the next exit. Because if you pull in, if you park, if you step out of your truck, you might shift into the dimensional pocket. Might become trapped like 67 of us are. Might watch the facility expand around you, building civilization from your imprisonment, growing town from your captivity. The rest area is patient. It grows with every addition. And it's becoming something unprecedented. A city that exists between dimensions, populated entirely by trapped highway travelers, expanding infinitely. Developing into full civilization that occupies same space as simple rest stop, but shifted into permanent pocket where drivers go to rest and stay forever. We have 67 residents now. Soon 100. Then 1,000. The rest area will keep growing, keep collecting, keep building. And somewhere on Highway 90, there's a simple rest stop that looks perfectly normal from outside but contains an entire civilization of trapped drivers inside, growing, expanding, becoming something beyond rest stop, beyond town, becoming its own reality, built from people who stopped for break and could never leave. Population 67 and growing. The rest area expands, and we build our lives in dimensional pocket that grows around us. Permanent residents of Mountain View. The rest stop that became a civilization. The trap that became home. The place where Highway 90 drivers go to rest and stay forever. Story 8. The load that gets heavier. The 12,000-pound machinery load I picked up in Houston has gained weight with every mile. The truck's suspension is compressing, the axles are groaning, and my weigh station receipts show the load increasing. 14,000 pounds at the first station, 19,000 at the second, 27,000 at the third. I'm now 400 miles from pickup and the gauges show 43,000 pounds, but I haven't added cargo. The machinery is somehow gaining mass as I transport it, and the shipper says this is normal, that the equipment accumulates potential during transport and I need to deliver before it exceeds structural limits or the truck will collapse under impossible weight. My name is Robert Kim, 39 years old, heavy equipment specialist for 14 years. On April 5, 2024, I loaded 3 industrial machines in Houston. Precision manufacturing equipment, certified weight 12,000 pounds total. Destination Chicago. Standard heavy load. I secured it properly, checked weight distribution, got my certified scale receipt. 12,000 pounds cargo, 18,000 pounds truck, 30,000 pounds gross. 50 miles out, my suspension felt heavy. Truck was handling like it was overloaded. I checked the cargo, still 3 machines properly secured, nothing added. But the ride quality suggested more weight. At the first weigh station, I crossed the scale, 2,400 pounds gross. My cargo had gained 2,400 pounds in 50 miles. Impossible. Weight doesn't spontaneously generate. I called the shipper. Your machinery is gaining weight during transport. Yes, he said calmly. That's normal. The equipment accumulates mass in transit. It's a property of the manufacturing process. The machines are unfinished. They gain their final mass by absorbing ambient energy during transportation. By the time you reach Chicago, they should mass approximately 52,000 pounds total. You shipped me 12,000 pounds that will become 52,000? That's 40,000 pounds of weight gain. My truck isn't rated for that. I'll be grossly overweight. You will. But you'll also arrive. The weight gain is gradual. Your truck can handle progressive loading better than sudden overweight. Just keep driving. Deliver before the mass exceeds your absolute structural limits. What are those limits? Based on your truck model, approximately 67,000 pounds. You have 35,000 pounds of capacity remaining. The cargo will gain roughly 40,000 pounds over 900 miles. You need to average 22.5 pounds per mile to stay under limits. Current rate is 48 pounds per mile. You're accumulating too fast. You need to drive faster to reduce time, which reduces total mass gain. How am I supposed to drive faster with an increasingly overweight truck? That's your challenge. Solve it. Or the cargo will exceed structural limits and your truck will collapse. We've lost 3 drivers to structural failure already. The machinery reached critical mass before delivery. The trucks imploded under impossible weight. Please don't become the 4th. I hung up, checked my calculator. 900 miles to Chicago. Current weight gain 48 pounds per mile. Total anticipated gain 43,200 pounds. That would bring me to 73,200 pounds gross, 6,200 pounds over my structural limits. The shipper was right, I'd collapse before delivery unless I reduced the time, reduced the total miles the weight could accumulate over. I accelerated, pushed the truck to 80 miles per hour. The weight was already affecting handling, the steering was heavy, the braking sluggish. At the next weigh station, I was at 36,800 pounds gross, 4,400 pounds heavier than my legal maximum. The scale operator flagged me. "You're overweight. You need to offload cargo." "I can't. The cargo is gaining weight spontaneously. I need to deliver it before it gets heavier." He looked at me like I was insane. "Cargo doesn't gain weight. You're overloaded. I'm citing you." I took the citation and kept driving. What choice did I have? Stopping meant more time, meant more weight gain, meant exceeding structural limits. I had to keep moving, had to deliver before the cargo crushed my truck. But the weight was accelerating. At each weigh station, the gain was larger. 38th and 200 pounds, 41 600 pounds, 46 900 pounds. The cargo wasn't gaining linearly, it was gaining exponentially. The shipper had lied or miscalculated. I wasn't going to make Chicago before structural failure. My truck was visibly deforming. The frame was bending, the axles were bowing. The tires were compressed nearly flat. I was driving a truck being crushed under its own cargo, and the cargo kept getting heavier, kept accumulating mass from where? From nothing, from quantum vacuum, from ambient energy converting to matter. However the industrial process worked, it was turning my truck into a collapsing star, mass accumulating without bound, gravity increasing, structural integrity failing. At 52,000 pounds gross, my frame cracked. Audible snap. The truck lurched. I was still 300 miles from Chicago. The cargo was going to kill me. Was going to accumulate to such mass that my truck would implode, crushing me in the cab, collapsing into a dense point under impossible weight. I called the shipper again. "I'm not going to make it. The truck is failing." "How much weight?" 52,000 pounds. Frame is cracked. Axles are bending. Tires are shredding. "You have capacity to 67,000. That's 15,000 pounds remaining. 300 miles. You need to gain less than 50 pounds per mile. Current rate?" I calculated based on previous stations. 73 pounds per mile. Accelerating. "Then you won't make it. I'm sorry. When the truck collapses, try to evacuate the cab. The cargo will implode first. Might give you seconds to escape." "What is this cargo? What are these machines?" "Probability engines. They manufacture likelihood, increase the odds of specific outcomes. But they need mass to function. They convert potential energy into actual mass during transport. By the time they reach destination, they have enough mass to warp local probability through gravitational lensing. They're supposed to mass 52,000 pounds. But sometimes the conversion runs away. Sometimes they accumulate too much mass, become probability black holes. That's what's happening to yours. They're approaching critical density. Soon they'll collapse into singularity. I was hauling machines that were becoming black holes, accumulating mass without limit, warping space around them. And they were in my trailer, crushing my truck, pulling me into their increasing gravity. At 58,000 pounds, I couldn't steer. The weight distribution was too extreme. The cargo was so massive it was affecting my truck's center of gravity. I was being pulled backward. The machines were exerting gravitational pull strong enough to fight my engine. At 63,000 pounds, my rear axle snapped. The trailer dropped, grinding on the highway, throwing sparks. I was immobilized, 200 miles from Chicago. The cargo was still gaining mass, still accumulating. Soon it would exceed 67,000 pounds. Soon my truck would collapse completely. Other vehicles were being affected. Cars passing me were pulled slightly toward my truck, drawn by the growing gravity. One sedan got too close, was pulled into my trailer, metal crumpling, passengers screaming. The cargo was becoming dangerous to others, was warping space enough to attract nearby vehicles into its gravity well. At 67,000 pounds, the collapse began. My truck frame bent inward, the cab compressed, metal screeched. I felt myself being pulled toward the cargo. Its gravity was stronger than the Earth's now. I was falling toward my own trailer, being drawn into the machines that had accumulated enough mass to create singularity. I tried to escape. Couldn't open the door. It was warped shut by the collapsing frame. The windshield cracked under pressure. My vision darkened as the cab compressed around me. I was being crushed and simultaneously pulled into the cargo. Two forms of destruction converging. Then the singularity formed. The machines collapsed into a point, all 67,000 plus pounds compressed into infinitesimal space. The trailer imploded, metal folding into the singularity, disappearing into the point. My truck was being eaten by a black hole I'd been transporting, consumed by machinery that had accumulated too much mass. I'm still being pulled in. Time is dilating near the event horizon. This message is being stretched across seconds that feel like hours. I'm experiencing gravitational time dilation as I approach the singularity. My final moments are extending infinitely from my perspective while passing instantly from external view. The cargo accumulated too much, exceeded structural limits, became black hole, and now it's consuming me, consuming my truck, consuming everything nearby. The highway is being pulled into it, other vehicles, infrastructure. Reality itself is bending toward the point where three industrial machines accumulated enough mass to collapse space-time. If you're offered a load of probability engines or any machinery that accumulates potential during transport, refuse. Don't haul cargo that gains weight. Don't transport machines that convert energy to mass. Don't let your truck become a carrier for spontaneous singularity formation. The cargo is still growing, still collapsing, still pulling me in. Soon I'll cross the event horizon. Soon I'll be compressed into the singularity with the machines. Soon I'll be part of the cargo, part of the mass, part of the black hole that started as 12,000 pounds and became infinite. The weight keeps increasing, the gravity keeps pulling. And I keep falling toward the cargo that accumulated too much. That became too heavy. That crushed everything, my truck, my body, space-time itself, under impossible mass that started as innocent shipment and ended as cosmic catastrophe. Don't haul the cargo that gets heavier. Don't transport the accumulating machines. Don't become the driver who carried probability engines to their critical mass. Don't let your load collapse into singularity with you still attached. The weight always wins, the gravity always pulls, and the cargo always accumulates until there's nothing left but the infinite mass at the point where your truck used to be. Story 9. The convoy that drives in reverse. I've been following a convoy of 5 trucks for 200 miles, but they're driving backward at 70 miles per hour, perfectly maintaining their lanes while in reverse, and when I finally passed them, I saw the drivers' faces. They're aging in reverse, getting younger with every mile, and their GPS displays show negative mileage counting up from 0. One driver mouthed to me through his window, "Don't reach your starting point or you'll unmake your entire trip." And I'm now 50 miles from where I began this route, watching my odometer count down, feeling my memories of the journey erasing mile by mile. My name is Patricia Reeves, 46 years old, hauling medical supplies for 12 years. On April 19th, 2024, I was driving Interstate 80 east from California when I encountered them. 5 identical trucks driving backward, not reversing slowly. Driving in reverse at highway speed, 70 miles per hour backward, maintaining perfect lane position, never swerving. Just traveling in reverse at normal highway speed like this was completely normal. I thought it was optical illusion, perspective trick. But as I got closer, it was unmistakable. The trucks were moving backward. Their brake lights were their forward lights. Their front ends were receding. They were traveling in reverse at speeds that should be impossible. No one can safely reverse at 70 miles per hour. But they were. All 5 in perfect formation, a backward convoy. I pulled alongside the lead truck. The driver was young, maybe 25. But as I watched, he looked younger. His face was smoothing, wrinkles disappearing, hair becoming fuller. He was aging backward. getting younger as he drove in reverse. And he was looking at me, pointing at his GPS. I could see the screen through his window. It showed negative mileage, 4,287 miles, counting upward from larger negative numbers. He was unmiles, undriving, moving backward through space and time simultaneously. He mouthed words to me. Don't reach your starting point. His lips moved in slow motion, or I was perceiving them slowly. Something about time was wrong near these trucks. Then he added, You'll unmake your trip. Erase everything. I accelerated past the convoy. They continued backward. I checked my mirrors. The 5 trucks were receding backward, maintaining formation, drivers getting progressively younger. They were undriving their routes, returning to their origins, and somehow erasing their trips in the process. Then I noticed my odometer. It was counting down, not up. Down. I'd been at 287,443 miles. Now it showed 287,391. I'd lost 52 miles. My truck was unrecording mileage. My trip was being erased. I was starting to undrive. My GPS confirmed it. I'd traveled 312 miles from my starting point in Oakland. Now it showed 304 miles. I'd lost 8 miles of progress. My journey was reversing. Not physically, I was still moving forward, but the record of my journey was being undone. The miles I'd driven were being subtracted from reality, and my memories were going with them. I tried to remember the last rest stop. Couldn't. It was gone from my memory, erased along with the miles. I tried to remember fueling up an hour ago. Nothing. That event had been undone. I was losing my recent past. The journey was being unmade from most recent to least recent. If it continued, I'd eventually lose the entire trip. Would arrive back at Oakland with no memory of ever leaving. Would have undone the whole journey. The convoy had warned me. Don't reach your starting point or you'll unmake your entire trip. If I kept undriving, if the reverse continued, I'd eventually arrive back at my origin with 0 miles traveled, 0 time elapsed, 0 memory of the journey. The Yao Tsin trip would never have happened, would be completely erased from causality. And maybe I'd be erased with it. Maybe reaching your starting point while undriving meant ceasing to exist because you never left. I tried to stop the undrive, pulled over, checked my systems. Everything appeared normal except the odometer, still counting down, still erasing miles. 287,341, 287,312, 287,289, losing miles every minute. My truck was unaccumulating mileage. My journey was being rewound. I called my dispatcher, tried to explain. He had no record of my current trip. According to his system, I was still at the Oakland warehouse, hadn't departed yet. The trip was already erased from official records. I was driving a route that no longer existed in the dispatch database. I was undriving so thoroughly that the trip was being removed from all records, not just my memory. I passed the backward convoy again. They'd made a loop, or I'd made a loop, or time was looping. The lead driver looked even younger now, teenager. His GPS showed 6,941 miles. He was deep into negative mileage, and he was fading, becoming translucent. Undriving so far backward, he was ceasing to physically exist. When he reached his starting point, he'd have undone so much journey he'd never have left. Would unmake himself retroactively. I was approaching that fate. My odometer, 287,003, I'd lost 440 miles. Was effectively back in Nevada, though I was still physically in Wyoming. The miles between had been undone. My memories of crossing Nevada were gone. I couldn't remember anything past the California border. Everything after my origin point was erasing. The undrive was consuming my journey chronologically backward. My phone rang. My wife. Where are you? You were supposed to leave Oakland 3 hours ago. I did leave. I'm in Wyoming. I've been driving for 8 hours. No, you're still in Oakland. I can see your truck GPS. You haven't moved. Are you okay? To the world I'd never left. The trip was being erased from all records and memories. Only I retained any awareness that I'd been driving, and soon that would go too. Soon I'd lose all memory of the journey, would think I was still at the origin, would have completely unmade my own trip. The convoy was still visible in my mirrors, all 5 trucks fading. Drivers now children, aging backward past their driving years. Soon they'd be infants, then unborn, undriving past their own existence. They'd warned me. Now they were demonstrating, showing what happens when you complete an undrive. When you reach your starting point while in reverse mode, you unmake yourself. Erase your journey so thoroughly you erase your ability to have made the journey. You become someone who never left. I was 30 miles from Oakland now. According to my odometer, I'd lost 282 miles of the 312 I'd traveled. Only 30 miles remained. When those erased, I'd be back at origin. Would have undone the entire trip. Would have no memory of driving. Would think it was 3 hours ago when I was preparing to leave. The 8 hours I'd spent driving would be compressed back into nothing. Would never have elapsed. 20 miles. My memories were now limited to the first hour of the trip. Everything after was gone. I couldn't remember Wyoming. Couldn't remember Nevada. Could barely remember leaving Oakland. The undrive was nearly complete. 10 miles. I could see Oakland in the distance. I was physically approaching it in forward direction while undriving backward in time. The paradox was resolving itself by erasing me from the journey. Soon I'd be at the warehouse where I'd started. And all 8 hours, all 312 miles, all the experience of the journey would be compressed into 0. Would never have occurred. 5 miles. I don't remember why I'm writing this. I'm in Oakland, about to start a delivery run to Chicago. 8 hours from now, I'll be in Wyoming. But I also have memories of already having been there, of undriving, of losing the journey, of a backward convoy warning me. But those are false memories, right? I haven't left yet. The journey hasn't started. 1 mile. I'm at the warehouse. The trip is unmade. I never left. The 8 hours are compressed back into the 3 hours before departure. I'm preparing my truck, loading cargo. This is the start of the journey, not the end. The end was unmade, the middle was erased, only the start remains. 0 miles. I'm Patricia Reeves. I haul medical supplies. Today I'm starting a delivery run to Chicago. It will take approximately 8 hours to reach Wyoming. I've done this route dozens of times. I have no unusual memories, no backward convoys, no undrive, no erased journey, just a standard route starting now. But somewhere there's a record of this message. A warning I wrote but don't remember writing. A description of a journey that was unmade. A trip that was erased mile by mile, memory by memory, until it never happened. And 5 trucks driving backward, their drivers aging in reverse, approaching their origins where they'll unmake themselves completely. If you see a backward convoy, don't follow. If your odometer starts counting down, stop immediately. If your memories begin erasing, turn around. Because the undrive is real. The reverse accumulation is real. And reaching your starting point while in undrive mode means unmaking yourself. Erasing your journey so completely that you never left. Compressing time back to origin. Becoming someone who thought about making a trip but never did. I'm starting my delivery run now. Oakland to Chicago, standard route, nothing unusual. The journey begins here. It definitely doesn't end here, because that would mean it already happened and was unmade. And that's impossible, right? The odometer reads 287,003. Ready to start accumulating miles, ready to drive forward, ready to make a journey that definitely isn't being unmade, that isn't counting backward. That won't erase itself mile by mile until I'm back at the start with no memory of ever leaving. The convoy is still out there, still driving backward, still undriving, still warning, don't reach your starting point. But I'm at my starting point, and the warning makes no sense because I haven't left yet. The journey is ahead, not behind, not erased, not unmade. I'm starting now, moving forward. The odometer is counting down? That can't be right. I haven't driven yet. How can miles be subtracting? How can I be losing distance before I've traveled? The undrive begins again, and I still don't remember. And I never will, because the trip keeps unmaking itself before I can remember making it, and I keep starting from the same point, and the backward convoy keeps warning, and the miles keep erasing, and the journey keeps not happening. Oakland. 0 miles traveled, infinite miles undone. The trip that was never made, the warning that was never remembered, the convoy driving backward forever, and me, starting again, always starting, never departing, because every journey unmakes itself and returns me here. The undrive is permanent, and I'm trapped in the start, forever preparing to leave, never leaving, always returning to origin before I've departed. The backward convoy warned me, but the warning was undone too. Everything unmakes, everything returns, everything drives backward to the point before it began. Starting now, again, always again, forever starting, never arriving, the permanent origin, the unmade trip, the erased journey, the undrive that consumed everything, including the memory that anything needed to be remembered. Story 10. The border crossing into yesterday. The Mexican border crossing at Nuevo Laredo has been letting me through for 3 days. But each time I cross, I arrive yesterday, and my truck's cargo ages backward 24 hours with each crossing. I'm now delivering food that's getting fresher instead of spoiling. But I've crossed the border 17 times and I'm now in last week. And the border guards are younger with each crossing. And eventually I'll cross back far enough that the border won't exist yet and I won't know where I am. My name is Luis Hernandez, 52 years old, cross-border freight specialist for 23 years. On May 1st, 2024, I made a routine crossing at Nuevo Laredo, standard produce run, fresh vegetables from Mexico to Texas. Crossed the border at 2:14 p.m., passed through inspection, got my entry stamp dated May 1st, drove into Texas, checked my phone, April 30th, 11:17 a.m. My phone date was wrong. I'd crossed on May 1st, but my phone showed April 30th. I assumed it was network error. Phones sometimes lose sync crossing borders, but then I checked my truck's GPS. April 30th. Checked the date on my cargo manifest that I'd printed that morning in Mexico. April 30th. Every device and document showed April 30th, except my border stamp, which clearly read May 1st. I'd crossed the border and traveled backward through time. Not far, just 27 hours. But definitely backward. I'd entered May 1st and emerged April 30th. The border crossing had sent me to yesterday. I figured it was documentation error. Border agent had wrong date stamp, but then I delivered my cargo. The receiving warehouse checked the produce. This is incredibly fresh, like it was picked this morning. Your manifest says it was harvested 2 days ago. How is it this fresh? I checked the vegetables. They were fresher than when I'd loaded them. The tomatoes were firmer. The lettuce was crisper. The produce had de-aged during transport, had traveled backward through time with me, was now younger, fresher, closer to harvest than when I'd loaded it. Second crossing, May 3rd, according to Mexican time. I crossed at Nuevo Laredo again. Same routine. Got my entry stamp, May 3rd. Emerged in Texas. Checked my phone, May 1st. I'd traveled backward 48 hours this time. 2 full days. My cargo was even fresher. Some of it was now in pre-harvest state. The tomatoes were slightly smaller, less ripe. The lettuce was younger. The vegetables were regressing toward their growing phase. Third crossing, I deliberately tested it. Crossed on May 5th. Emerged on May 2nd, 72 hours backward. My produce was now significantly younger. Some vegetables were reverting to early growth stages. and I noticed the border guards looked younger. The agent who'd processed me on my first crossing had looked mid-40s. Now he looked mid-30s. He was aging backward with each crossing I made. Or I was seeing him at earlier points in his life because I was traveling further into the past. I was stuck in a time loop. Every crossing sent me backward, and the effect was cumulative. First crossing, back 1 day. Second crossing, back 2 days from the new starting point. Third crossing, back 3 days. I wasn't just crossing the border, I was crossing through time, and each crossing took me further into the past. By the 10th crossing, I was in April. Early April, my produce cargo was now seeds. Literally seeds. The vegetables had regressed past harvest, past growth, back to seed form. I was transporting seeds that had been fresh vegetables when I loaded them. The border was aging my cargo backward faster than I could deliver it forward. The border guards were changing too. On my 15th crossing, the same guard who'd been mid-40s on my first crossing was now in his 20s. I was seeing him regress through his life because I was traveling further into his past with each crossing. Soon he'd be too young to work at the border. Soon he'd be a child. Eventually he'd be unborn and the crossing wouldn't be staffed yet. I tried to stop, tried to take a different route, but my cargo was now so young it was regressing into non-existence. The seeds were becoming cellular material, the vegetables were unmaterializing. I needed to cross the border backward one more time to return them to a point where they existed in deliverable form. So I crossed again. 16th crossing. Now I was in March, 2 months backward from my first crossing. The border station looked different, newly constructed. The guards were young recruits. The procedures were less refined. I was in the past far enough that the infrastructure was visibly younger. And my cargo was now genetic material. The vegetables had regressed past seed form into the DNA that would eventually code for the plants. I was transporting abstract vegetable potential. 17th crossing, February. The border station was under construction. Some guards were still being trained. The procedures were rudimentary. And my cargo was now soil nutrients. The vegetables had regressed completely, were now just minerals and compounds in the soil that would eventually feed the plants that would grow the vegetables I'd originally loaded. I was transporting the pre-vegetable substrate. I couldn't deliver this, couldn't show up at a warehouse with soil nutrients and claim I'd delivered fresh produce. But I couldn't stop crossing either. Every day I waited in the past. The present moved forward, increasing the temporal gap. I was stuck, had to keep crossing backward, hoping to eventually reach a point where the loop reset or collapsed or allowed forward progression. But the border was getting younger too. On crossing 23, I arrived in December 2023. The border station was newly opened. Half the guards hadn't been hired yet. The infrastructure was minimal. And ahead I could see future crossings leading to dates before the current station existed. Soon I'd cross back to a time when this crossing wasn't here, when the border was unmarked territory, when crossing meant nothing because there was nothing to cross. I'm on crossing 31 now. September 2023, the border station is still being planned. There are temporary structures and construction crews, a few guards managing minimal traffic. My cargo has regressed so far backward it's now atmospheric carbon. The vegetables have regressed past soil, past minerals, back to elemental carbon dioxide in the air that will eventually be absorbed by plants. I'm transporting air, hauling atmosphere, carrying the breath that vegetables will eventually use for photosynthesis. With each crossing, I'm becoming unstuck in time, moving further into the past, watching the border regress through its construction, through its planning, toward the point before it existed. And when I cross that threshold, when I reach a date before this border crossing was established, where do I emerge? Into unmarked land? Into a Mexico and Texas that aren't yet separated by official border? into a past where crossing means something different. The guards are getting younger. Some are now teenagers. Training programs haven't been established yet. Procedures are improvised. The border is losing its structure as I regress through its history. Soon there will be no guards, no station, no official crossing. Just land that will eventually become border. And I'll be driving through it, hauling cargo that's regressed into elemental components, traveling backward through time without end. I'm afraid to cross again, but I'm afraid to stop. Staying in the past means losing connection to my present. Every day I wait, the future moves forward, increasing the gap, but crossing means moving further backward, deeper into the past. Closer to a time before the border, before the crossing, before the infrastructure that makes crossing possible. Crossing 32 will take me to July. Crossing 40 will take me to January. Crossing 50 will take me to last year, and eventually I'll cross back before I was born, before I became a trucker, before I existed. And what happens when I cross the border into a date before my own birth? Do I vanish? Do I cease to exist retroactively? Do I become temporally impossible, a driver who hasn't been born yet operating a truck that doesn't exist yet hauling cargo that's regressed into primordial elements? The border crossing is a time machine. Each passage sends me one day further into the past, and I've crossed 31 times. I'm in a month that ended before I started, and the border keeps getting younger, keeps regressing, keeps losing structure. Soon it will regress past its creation, and I'll be crossing through time with no spatial boundary to guide me. Just traveling backward infinitely, hauling cargo that's regressed into nothing, watching the world get younger around me, approaching the moment before I existed to make the first crossing that sent me on this backward journey. If you cross at Nuevo Laredo and your phone shows yesterday's date, turn back. Don't cross again. Don't let the temporal regression accumulate. Don't travel backward through multiple crossings until you're lost in the past. Don't let your cargo regress into nothing. Don't watch the border get younger until it stops existing. I'm preparing for crossing 32. It will take me to July 2023. The border station will be in early construction. The guards will be initial hires. And my cargo will be, I don't even know what form it will take. Subatomic particles? Quantum potential? The abstract possibility that will eventually manifest as soil that will feed plants, that will grow vegetables? The border is a time gateway, and I keep crossing. Keep traveling backward, keep regressing toward a past that predates my present, and eventually I'll cross back so far I'll reach a point before the border existed. Before Mexico and Texas were separate, before the line was drawn, and then where will I be? In no time, in pre-border void, in the space between established realities? Crossing 32 begins now. July 2023. The past awaits. The border regresses, the cargo unmaterializes, and I keep driving backward through time, one crossing at a time toward a destination that predates destinations, toward a past that predates my present, toward a border that will eventually not exist. And what lies beyond that? What's on the other side of crossing into a time before the crossing existed? I'll find out, one crossing at a time, one day backward at a time, until I reach the point before points existed. The border before borders, the time before time, and maybe there in that pre-border past, the loop will reset. Or maybe I'll just keep traveling backward forever, crossing into yesterday, always yesterday, forever yesterday, never today again. The crossing begins. July 2023 awaits. The border gets younger, and I keep driving backward, into the past, into the regression, into the time before time, one crossing at a time, forever backward, never forward, always yesterday, the eternal regression. the border that sends you to yesterday, and the driver who crossed too many times to ever return to today.